Well, hey there. Change of venue tonight. I am in the loft. I received my Cyberpunk 2077 figure, got it put together. I wanted to get a theme shot, and so I thought I'd record the process and what I did to make the shot. So the thinking is I've got the LED panel up top. It is set to 3200 Kelvin, which is as low as it could go. I'd like to get it to 3000, but 3200 is what it is. That will replicate a street light shining down on it. And then I have the Aperture M9, which I am going to put a red gel on and attach it probably to the C-stand about here with some gaffer's tape to signify or replicate what I'm hoping will be brake lights shining up onto the figure. And then I've got these super cheap LED strips that I bought off of Amazon for, I don't know, $10, $15 max. And I'm going to set those, hoping that I can have it appear as though it is tall city building lights in the background and try to create a motif. I have the figure sitting on top of I don't know if you can see it, but it's on top of a Lazy Susan, so I can adjust it. So what I would like to have is from the logo, the Cyberpunk, down to just past the head of the guy jumping off the bike, and have that in focus and then have the rest out of focus behind. So what I've done is we're shooting with the EOS R, and I've added put the 15 to 35 on the camera. Still not perfect. The 35 is still too wide. What I would really like to use on this would be a 50 mil, but I don't own one. I'm going to be shooting tethered so I can check everything on the laptop, and I'm just using Lightroom Classic for that. I've got it recording, but for some reason I don't think it's recording the live view, so we'll have to take shots and see what it looks like. So the first thing I want to do is check the depth of field, which I've kind of already done, but we'll get a shot here so that you can see what it looks like. So we've got an aperture 4.5, ISO of 200. All right, we'll get the LED panel turned on and get these outside lights turned off and see what we can come up with, and we'll adjust that light as we go along. Okay, we're going to try this ISO 200 with an f4.5. That light is just way too harsh. That highlights just too much. I'm going to dim that LED light a little bit more. All right, I've changed it to only a 10% power output. Let's see what we get. I'm going to have to soften that light up. Let's see what we come up with. That helped. That helped a lot. Let's adjust it back up a little bit, make it a little brighter now that we've added the diffusion. All right, so I've bumped it back up to 20% output. Nope, 20 is too much, so let's try 15. By the way, the barn doors on the LED panel do not block the light. It doesn't let you shape it the way you want to. If I'm getting a lot of spill on this backdrop, then I'm not sure I like that. All right, let's add the red light and see if we can get something kind of cool looking. That's too bright. Let's reduce this. Car lights, I kind of like that, but our problem is the Cyberpunk is not lit up at all. So let me take the shot with the diffusion and see what we have. All right, let's add the LED strips and see what that looks like. Not what I was hoping for. I wonder if I can reduce their brightness. Looks like that's as far as they reduce. I have never used these before, so It's all an experiment. This is annoying. I should just mount this up here on the arm. And I'm getting too much of the background, so I think I'm going to increase my shutter speed, see if I can darken that up some. I see we've got the string hanging behind. Well, just from a composition standpoint, I don't like that string that runs right behind the guy who's jumping off the bike. So I'm going to adjust everything over, I think, a little bit. Oh, I think that's better. Okay, the red is better, but obviously, since I increased my shutter speed to darken the background, I'm going to have to increase this LED's output. So I'm going to put that back up. By the way, these LED lights do have an app. Unfortunately, I'm using my phone connected to my Osmo Pocket to record this, so I don't have access. So now I bumped this back up to 20%, and we'll see what happens now. And I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but the backdrop curtains are just blackout curtains that I bought at the dollar store. I put up this piece of black foam board also from the dollar store just so I didn't get any return off of this TV because I've got the chrome that outlines it. That is better, but we're just too dark. I feel like I need another light, like a hero light. Could break out the other LED panel, set that up. I will do that and I will be right back. All right, so I've added another LED panel, which you can see my hand lighting up. You can't see it, it's a little bit off screen, the barn door is right here. I've got it set at only 1%. I set it to the same temperature as this one. And I've got the barn doors pretty much all the way closed, but it is now, I'm seeing some light up here on the logo and, you know, some light up here on the bike and on the face. So let's take a test shot and see what we've got. Now our red is out. Uh-oh. Wonder if the battery died. And we're back in business. Learn from my mistakes. Make sure all your batteries are charged before you start. There we go. What do you think? Is it going to be too dark to work with? Could try bumping everything up a little bit, but maybe this front light. Let's bump the front light up. I kind of like that. Okay, I'm going to get a plate with the background a little darker, so I'm going to do some bracket shots here. Well, let's see if we can work with that. We'll take it into post and see what we can come up with. Now we're in Lightroom on the computer, and this is a view of the last shot that we took out of the camera. So I like the moodiness, and we've got the good highlights. Problem is it's way too dark to really be usable for anything. So knowing that, I had actually bracketed some shots at the end. So we have going from a little lighter down to darker. And then what I did was I just took these last 5 images and just did a photo merge and then did HDR. And when I did that process, this was the image we were left with. Brightened it way up. The focus ended up being pretty much exactly the way I wanted it. We're running from the front to the back. But now what we see is the HDR has made this image so bright that the background is completely unusable. So the first thing I did was I cropped this down. And this gives us our framing, knowing that this background was not going to be usable. So the next step that I went through was I just used a mask. I created a selection and chose subject. And Photoshop does a really good job with its AI now of making the selection itself. So if you look, it's really close to being the right thing. I did have to go up and clean up some of these areas that should be missing here on the inside. Interestingly, doing it now, it made it a better selection than it did when I did my original edit. But I went through, did some manual cleanup, and then what I ended up with was the mask here, which is what we have showing right over here. The next thing I wanted to do is use that mask to get rid of the background. So I created a solid black layer for the back and then added some noise to it so it wasn't so flat, wasn't so black. It brought it up just a little bit more. My next problem was with these lights. they did not turn out as building window lights, which is what I was kind of hoping that it would be. I just had them, they were too in focus. The backdrop needed to be further back away, but just didn't have any more room in the room I was shooting in. And also they are not even anyway. So what I did was I cut out actually just, I think it was these 4 or 5 here that I'm circling, and then pasted them in and did some rearranging, and this is what the final image ended up looking like. And I kind of like it. It's not perfect, but you know, it was a learning experience. We've got the highlights that I wanted, got the detail. Didn't think it was too bad. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the photo and of the process, and what kind of tips you could give me. And if I was able to give you any tips, please let me know that as well. So please like, subscribe, do all of those things, and I will see you in the next one.